Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Welcome to our municipal planning and regular council meeting today for Tuesday, April 28th, 2026. Before I begin, I would like to briefly outline the rules and procedures and public code of conduct during council meetings so that everyone understands the process and we can ensure a respectful and productive meeting for council, staff, and the public. A friendly reminder under procedural bylaws, section 15.5, members of the public are reminded of the following. Please do not speak aloud or try to address the council. Profanity, offensive language, or insulting expressions directed toward council staff or any person are not permitted. Please remain seated and refrain from creating a noise or disturbance while council is discussing a matter. A vote is underway or staff are presenting. Disorderly conduct that disrupts the chair, the council, or staff is not acceptable. Interruptions, shoutouts, or creating disturbances while a member of council, staff, or another person has the floor is not allowed. If necessary, the chair does have the authority to remove any member of the public for improper conduct. We appreciate your cooperation and your courtesy. I will call this meeting to order at 9:31, and I will confirm that all members of council are present, as well as the municipal clerk. Territorial land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the township of Alma-Cullivan is located on the Mississauga-Ashaninbenk territory and is the traditional territory of the Mississaugan-Ashaninbenk. The township of Alma-Cullivan respectfully acknowledges that the Mississauga Nation are the collective stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. Next, we move on to the agenda. We do have one modification to the agenda, and it concerns 11.2. And instead of a report from our planner, we're going to have a verbal report. And the report will be added on to the minutes of today's meeting. So I'll read the agenda, that the agenda for the municipal planning regular council meeting held on April 28, 2026 be approved. Mover and seconder. Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councillor Booth. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest or general age? No, if people want to bring forward. Seeing none, that'll be noted. We have no approval of the minutes or delegations today. We'll move right on to the planning report, and the first one involves zoning bylaw amendment, removal of the holding at Rice Lakes Estates, phase 2. It's PLN 2026-13. A zoning bylaw amendment, removal of the building for Rice Lake Estates, phase 2, and it's from the 28th day of April 2026. Good morning, Madam Tracy.
Good morning. Thank you.
Please go ahead.
Through the mayor, we are recommending that council, provided that the owner has executed the subdivision agreement, bylaw be forwarded to council for council's consideration to approve a bylaw to remove the holding zone symbol. I can advise that the owner has signed back on the agreement. We'll forward it to the mayor and clerk for signature, and then it will be registered. One of the conditions of the holding symbol was that the archaeological assessment be entered into the Ontario Public Register of Archaeological Reports. There are provisions in the subdivision agreement to secure for that, but I was advised on Friday that that report has been entered into the register. Over the review of the detailed design, there's been a number of updates to the engineering design drawings that our peer review engineer from AECOM had asked for. So there's been some back and forth between the owner's engineer and our engineer to ensure the drawings meet our requirements. I have had a couple of residents come in or ask questions about the proposal in detail. There was concerns about drainage over the cul-de-sac at the end of Sheriff Point Road. And I had our engineer look at it, who advised that the drainage from the future lots will be collected and directed to the east of the lake, so away from the existing properties on Sheriff Point Road. It does appear that there is some drainage which comes from the roadway as existing conditions, and there is some drainage along the west. However, there will be a swale in the proposed subdivision that will direct quite a bit of that drainage from the road to the east. So that hopefully will alleviate some of that current drainage that seems to flow through a driveway at the end. It has been a wet year this year, so I imagine those conditions have been greater than other years. There's also concerns about parking. The residents use boulevards. There is a generous boulevard proposed to be retained in excess of 7 meters, so there would be adequate parking space on the boulevard side on the west side of Sheriff Point. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to take those. Thank you.
Thank you. I have one question. You mentioned the boulevard. Is that going to be on public property, or is that the parking on private?
Yes, the roadway width is 23 meters, so that includes more than 7 meters on each side. On the east side, there's a ditch. On the west side, there's a clear boulevard, and there's about a 6-meter road width. So it would be within the municipal right of way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Members of council, any questions? Seeing none, I'll read the motion. It is recommended the council of the corporation of the township of Allen enact as follows. That provided the owner has executed the subdivision agreement, a bylaw be brought forward for council's consideration to approve an amendment to bylaw number 19-2019 to remove the holding zoning symbol in relation to application Z042024. Is there a mover and a seconder? Moved by Council Ainsworth, second by Deputy Mayor Stover. Are there any comments or questions amongst council members? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion is carried. Next, we're moving on to item 11.2, which is Bill 98, proposed changes to the Planning Act, the City of Toronto Act, the Building Code Act, and Municipal Act. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Through the mayor, it is recommended that the council of the corporation of the township of Allen enact as follows. That council receives report PLN 2026-10, Bill 98, proposed changes to the Planning Act, City of Toronto Act, Building Code Act, and Municipal Act for information, and that the senior planners submit the comments contained in the planning analysis and conclusion section of report PLN 2026-14 to the Environmental Registry of Ontario. The province introduced Bill 98 on March 30th, 2026. The Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing is seeking feedback on multiple proposals listed on the registry, and the report contains links to that proposal as well as the proposed regulations that they are looking to implement. The proposals include standardizing formats for official plans, secondary plans, and site and area specific policies. with an implementation date of January 1st, 2029 for a list of municipalities that we are included in. Large and fast growing municipalities have to implement those changes sooner. There is revised projection methodology for population and employment forecast. They're removing the authority to require conditions of land division related to enhanced development standards, which are usually related to sustainability and are adopted in more of the urban settings. Changes to various regulations to facilitate electronic submissions. Proposed reforms to site plan control to address timing of approvals and potentially eliminate that approval process altogether. Permission for developer identified parkland for dedication that may be encumbered or privately owned. So that would be like, maybe in a condominium setting where there's underground parking and maybe you can have a park on top of that facility. Drinking water and wastewater consent requirements to encourage greater adoption. The requirement for municipalities to accept studies from designated professions. So right now there's regulations that require us to accept a study from an engineer. They are looking to expand that list. I think some municipalities have specific lists where they want specific listed consultants to submit for applications. We don't do that here, so that won't affect us. Establishing minimum lot sizes in urban areas. And there's a briefing that the province has also put together, and there's a link to that in the report. So in terms of risk assessment, there may be some costs associated with implementing the proposed changes. We will monitor those changes and financial implications to include in future budgets. There's no staffing implications. And in terms of legal, the comments that we provide may be considered by the province as they finalize proposed legislative changes. So I've reviewed the proposed changes and will follow them through the approval process. The proposal for standardized formats for official plans, secondary plans, and site and area-specific policies will be considered in the development of our terms of reference for our official plan update, so that we're not having to make changes in the future when changes are required. It's anticipated that there will be adjustments to internal processes that will need to be made to implement proposed changes. And I think we should offer the following comments. Site plan is an important tool used to evaluate a development proposal to mitigate potential impacts. Review of conformity with relevant policies and regulation occurs to assess potential impacts on adjacent lands, natural heritage and hydrological features and areas, hazard lands, infrastructure, and cultural heritage. If the site plan review process is scoped, it should be done in a manner that provides the ability to test a proposal against all applicable policies and regulations and not limit the review only to specific areas such as health and safety. The province intends to enhance the regulatory framework to facilitate communal water and wastewater systems. Currently, municipalities are required to enter into a municipal responsibility agreement, which is also called MRA, to take over these systems should an owner fail to operate and maintain them correctly. It is not clear if an MRA will continue to be required, which may ultimately place costs and responsibilities onto the municipality. Through the review of the list of the proposed core and contingent studies, it is not evident that there will be an opportunity to assess impacts on community facilities, schools, such as schools, libraries, recreation, and fire and emergency services. Where a development proposal seeks to increase the population significantly, municipalities need to determine if there will be added pressure on all services and if additional resources are necessary. I think I missed a point earlier. So there's a proposal to list the types of studies and reports that can be asked for a complete application. So that is one point that I think may have not been included. Thank you.
Thank you. And, questions or comments from members? Go ahead, Councilor O'Neill.
Thank you. I do have more questions because this is the first time hearing it, but you've identified some of the things that really jumped out at me with the site plan requirements and the need. And I think as a rural community, that's super important because we don't want someone in Toronto saying, sure, go ahead and do that, who's never been to that property, doesn't know that. So I think the site plans are super important. Interesting, the list of studies to accept from professionals. And with the communal water and septic, I think that is a direction we're going to need to move, but how we get there, make sure we get there properly. And the last is just, well, actually two, the demographics. So rural demographics, we have people moving out of the rural areas into urban areas. This has been happening for many generations, and the statistics are showing that. Do you have any more sense of how these new demographics of and growth? Because we can't assume growth. Ontario's population has gone down for the last 2 years. So just, do you have any more on how these demographics will impact us as rural communities?
Through the chair. So the point on the demographics is how it's calculated. I think until we get to, like, the county has done their growth management review and have identified how much our area is expected to grow. And when we do our official plan update, we will look at what is the methodology in place at the time to have a look at it from a local context. So that will come in the official plan review. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't have the answer on how the exact for how we're going to grow and change in the next few years, but that will be a task for the official plan review.
The fact that the county has recently done their official plan review, recently, I'm not exactly sure, but it's in the last 6 months or a year or whatever. Are they going to be doing this again then?
Through the chair, they are having another look at it based on the announcements for OPG at Wesleyville and the Campbellford Memorial Hospital and the expansion to Trenton. So there is some work that's happening now that I believe is expected in the next few months to be completed. So that will also help to inform our review. So that work will be quoted as a source for our consultants to look at.
Good. That's very important because with Wesleyville in particular, but all of them, the effect that that's going to have not only on the municipality of Port Hope, but everybody within kilometers. That includes Peterborough County and Clarington, et cetera, as well as our own. So that's a big change. Councillor Ainsworth, and then Councillor or Deputy Mayor Schwartz. Go ahead, Councillor Ainsworth.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. I guess, Trace, what this sounds like it's going to save some time and maybe some money out of the residents' pockets when they start doing some development. With the lining up reports that may be used down the road for somebody else, will that also involve the conservation authorities? So if they have the environmental assessments and stuff, we'll say, like, does someone use the neighbor's assessment that is right beside it instead of reinventing the wheel? That kind of stuff.
Through the chair, I think it depends on the scope of a study that was done. So if there's a study that has a broad enough scope that can address something on another property, that could be looked at. And I think we would do that now. But it's not typical that a study that's very specific to maybe a lot would be broad enough to expand to another lot. It depends on the size and the nature of what has been found and what the impacts are. So I think we try to do that now and keep things limited where we can, but making sure that the provincial interests and the policies of our official plan are addressed at the same time.
So more for subdivision, like a subdivision report could be used, here and maybe also here.
Through the chair, Mike, please.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Go ahead, Tracy.
through the mayor, like traffic impact studies is one example where data collected for one study can be used to inform the next. So there's already some of that happens behind the scenes. So we're not always working in a bubble per se. So we do try to do that. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Lobo, through you to Tracy. As you are going through this verbal report, I would like to thank you for keeping abreast of all the changes, and it sounds like there's going to be a few more coming down the pipes. And as I'm listening to you, how intricate it is and how you have to delve into the reports as they're coming down to you and figure out how we fit into it, and to make sure that we are being looked after with all the development that's going to be happening here. So I just like to thank you for doing that, and you always are working on timelines, because I believe you said, how long did you say you had to get back to the ministry on this?
I believe some of the commenting period is April 29th and some are set for May 14th. So fairly short
A quick
order.
turnaround.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor Lobo.
You're welcome. So you're sending this report addressed to the ministry?
Through the chair, the recommendation is that we are to send the comments that are in the planning and analysis section of the report.
Okay.
So if council chooses to adopt the recommendation as written, I would enter those comments into the Environmental Registry of Ontario for consideration.
Thank you. Any other further questions? Go ahead, Councilor Neal.
Just a quick question, Hannibal. Will this verbal report have a written component in our minutes? So I guess it might be a question for the clerk rather than you.
Madam Clerk, do you want to respond to that, please?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, as the mayor said earlier, that yes, the report will be included in the minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other further questions and comments? Thank you, Tracy. I will read the resolution. It is recommended the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Sullivan Act as follows: that Council receive report PLN 2024-14 regarding Bill 98, proposed changes to the Planning Act, City of Toronto Act, Building Code Act, and Municipal Act for information, and that a copy of the actual report be included in the minutes of April 28th meeting. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councilor O'Neill, seconded by Councilor Ainsworth. Was there any debate on this subject? Can you read out your second portion, because I don't have anything. I ended at the Municipal Act for information.
That the senior planner submit the comments contained in the planning analysis and conclusion section of report BLN 2026-14 to the Environmental Registry of Ontario.
Perfect. Further questions or comments? Being none, all in favor? Motion is carried. We're going to move on to the planning bylaws, and the first bylaw is bylaw 2026-31, amending the comprehensive zoning bylaw for Rice Lake Estates Phase 2 BL 2026-31 Rice Lake PH 11Z042024. Can I get a mover and a seconder? I better finish that. Can I hold on for a second?
You can.
That bylaw number 2026-31 being a bylaw to amend the comprehensive zoning bylaw for Rice Lake Estates Phase 2 be given a first, second, and third reading and finally passed this 28th day of April 2026. Mover and seconder, moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? That motion is carried. Thank you, Tracy. Next on the schedule, we have, financial of the Grafton Arena floor replacement. And we have Zach, pardon me, not Zach, we have Paul here this morning to, over his report. Paul, please come forward. Got both of you. Hi, Zach, how are you? Good, how are you? Good, thank you. Paul, your report, please go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, Mayor Council. So the report in front of you, outlines essentially the financing strategy for the Grafton Arena replacement project. So you see we have another report for the council today to award the contract. So this report kind of speaks to the financing side and how the financing will work for this project. So happy to take questions if there are any.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody have any questions? Councillor Booth.
Through you, your worship. Morning, Paul. Just a question. Could you explain to me, because this is sort of not the way I've usually seen it. In my past job, we usually did the fundraising and then did it. We are going to, it looks like we're doing a debenture for the, let me go just kind of convert. Is it, am I correct in saying it's 2 million? $2,332,000. We're doing, is that correct?
Through the chair, that's what we'll seek approval for. So the way the debenture works is we would go to Infrastructure Ontario and we would apply for a loan. We would apply for the full amount, 2.332, receive approval for that amount. That doesn't necessarily mean we have to take that amount. We can take anything between 0 and up to 2.332 million. So any donations that we receive, we'll take off of what we actually debenture. But what we're seeking is approval for the full amount in case there are no donations.
Okay, thank you. And through your worship. So I guess how does it work then? So obviously we're going to need money up front because once the contractor starts in May, there's going to be bills coming in. We're just taking that out of reserves to pay those bills?
Through the chair, yes. So any funds that we need to expend before that debenture comes in, we'll borrow it from reserve funds. And then once the debenture comes in, and that's usually 2 to 3 months after the application is approved, or sorry, after the application is submitted, we would receive a lump sum amount. That amount would go into our bank account, and then we would replenish the reserves at that time.
Okay, through your worship. So how does that then, when donations are coming in, when do the donations get paid off of that? Do we, like, are we waiting until the end of the year with the donations? Or if somebody was to donate $500,000 right from the start, would that be used right away too, or are we just waiting until at the end to find out what we're debenturing?
Through the chair, we can do it in stages. So we can say at the beginning, maybe we want $1 million. And then if donations aren't coming in the way we think they are, we can go back and say, okay, let's do another 500,000. And if donations are still not coming in the way they are, we can say, okay, let's do another 500,000. And it won't adjust our debenture schedule. The only thing it would do for the debenture is it'll readjust our semi-annual payments. And we have up to 18 months after the time of approval to claim that entire 2.332 million.
So through your worship, I guess my question would be, so if somebody was to donate $1 million and we get that money right away, right? Would we use that $1 million instead of going and taking out of our reserves, or are you banking that and then at the end saying, okay?
Through the chair, we would use it as it comes in.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Your council?
Thank you, Mayor Logal. I too, like Councillor Booth, have a number of questions, and my questions are related to other costs and how those other costs will be funded. So I think of the contingency fund, and I know that can be quite a large number when we're renovating an old building. I'm thinking of the ceiling portion that is identified in this, in the report that we'll get the second one. The hydro upgrade costs, the upgrades that might be triggered, such as AODA and the fire system, the project management costs, the potential soil remediation costs, seeding, and others that I might not have thought of because I'm not actually recreation manager, but anyway.
I think, most of those questions are not really related to finance, as far as I'm concerned. But maybe if you're asking some specifics like you have mentioned, and I think there's other people that should be answering that rather than Paul. So Zach, which question is kind of, I'm sure you didn't keep track of them all because I didn't, but.
Sorry, I have submitted these, so I'm hopeful that our senior staff is prepared for these questions. But I do believe how we're going to fund it is for the treasurer, but I do concur that some of these other things are information that the treasurer needs to be provided by our recreation manager, so.
Yeah, all I'm saying here, Catherine, I don't think Paul has all the answers to contingency plans and that type of stuff. Or hydro or that. So I think that we have people here that are better able to answer your specific question.
Excellent.
Doc?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, which specific question would you like answered?
Sorry, so the list, I'll go through one at a time then, if that's okay with you, Mayor Noble. The first is the contingency amount, so I don't see a contingency amount included here.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, so it's my understanding that contingency is built into the bid that was offered, and I will confirm that with Barry Bryan Associates, but that's my understanding at this point.
Okay, that isn't how I took it, but we'll go on. The ceiling portion was 75,000.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, so the ceiling portion is added on top of the actual bid to make that 2.332 total. It's $75,000 for suspended ceiling, and that ceiling is supposed to basically decrease energy costs between 20 and 30%, increase the lighting levels in the arena up to 50%, and reduce basically the heat transfer that leaves the building. So it'll end up hopefully giving us a earlier and longer season, basically. And this is a recommendation done from Barry Bryan to get this done, just because we're going to see long-term benefits from doing this now, basically. And if they're going to be up there painting the ceiling anyways, they might as well add the new suspended ceiling.
Okay, thank you. The hydro upgrade costs.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, there's no immediate expected hydro cost of increase. If anything, we should be decreasing our costs.
Sorry, do you want to continue?
Yes, through me.
Yeah, well, I was double checking. A couple of years ago, we did have a report from our then recreation manager that did say that we would need to upgrade the capacity to move forward with such a project. I don't have that report in front of me, but I'm just referencing back to that.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, any discussions that I've had with Barry Bryan, they've indicated that we probably will not need any kind of upgrades. We're looking at, obviously replacing things like the compressors, which would actually give a lower energy output. Obviously the inclusion of the ceiling would reduce energy costs. And we're not, so basically replacing the older equipment, we shouldn't have to need new hydro, is basically what we've been told. So we're not expecting that.
Go ahead.
With you, Mayor Local. Are there any chance that we're gonna have other upgrades triggered, such as the AODA or the fire system?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it's not looking like that at this time. There is a, for example, a $10,000 fund built into that bid for electrical work that may be needed and things like that, but there's nothing basically anticipated at this time.
Okay, I know we've already paid, I believe it was 78,000 to Barry Bryan. So what all is covered under that in terms of the project management?
You have the answer for that?
Pardon?
You have the answer for that?
I have generally everything that was asked in your question, basically, Mary Catherine, that was written in is being covered. So that was confirmed yesterday. You can read out if you'd like.
Yeah, no, it was that, the forward cost from the project management. Is that also in that 78,000 or would that?
No,
because
that's correct. It's included, so that project management all the way to the completion of the project.
That's interesting. But,
I just want to make sure that you're not questioning, staff in
no,
a negative way.
I'm saying that normally, in my past experience, it would be 10% for engineering and project management. So that number is significantly lower than the 10% would be. So I find that interesting.
Okay, well, you could have also said, well, that's good work. And thank you, Zach, for, you've obviously got the right person doing the job. He was giving well under the 10%, isn't it? That's what we're quoted, so that's what we should be thinking. Thank you, Zach. Go ahead, Mary Catherine.
I'll go to the seating next. It's my understanding from the RFP that the existing seating area will be impacted by this, but I don't see.
I think we're getting into operations. Seating is operations, that's pretty small stuff. We want to talk big stuff for, council. If you're talking about, seating, in my opinion, that is operational and not, for this table to decide what type of seating we're going to do. Do you have a quick comment on that, Zach, or I'm not gonna stop it, but I think we're getting into a
Through you,
little.
Mr. Mayor, so I can't answer that. There is not seating in the current bid. The reason for that is Barry Bryan Associates wants to do that at the very end, once they've established what's happening, and of course also for permit reasons, because seating requires specific permits that we'll need as we're going through the process. So that's gonna be done at the end, and we've explored options such as pull-away portable bleachers. So they want to do that at the very end, once they basically see what they're dealing with. So.
And for clarification, that's not in the bid, so
That's correct.
that would have to come back to council for,
That's correct.
thank you. Go ahead.
I will. So you've opened up about change orders in your local. So what is going to happen? Soil remediation is the biggest change order I'd be worried about, but how will we be handling change orders and the costs associated with those?
Can you be more specific to the question regarding the questions and whether we're going to approve this or not? But we're way off subject.
I don't believe we are, because I believe there's costs associated with change orders. That's a normal thing. How will change orders and the costs associated be dealt with? Will that need to come back to council each time?
Paul?
For the chair, if there are any change orders that are increasing the cost of the project, then we will bring that back to council.
Thank you. Next question.
I mean, now we're getting into the big things, and I think there maybe are questions for, once we're in our discussion, but maybe before we go there, how does this fit with our asset management plan? And in your professional opinion, on that would be greatly appreciated.
Paul, you have a comment?
Through the chair, so this would, I guess, impact the asset management plan in the sense that it would reset the condition for the arena. So basically, it would take the arena back up to very good condition, and then it would kind of trickle through the replacement cost to the arena. Now it's kind of pushing out the replacement cost a little bit further. So we're going through the asset management plan right now, and we're planning on bringing final updated asset management to council in fall. And that in that report, there will be a financing strategy that outlines sort of the costs that we're anticipating to see for asset management over the next 10 years, and then how to pay for it. This arena is kind of being done outside of that. So it won't necessarily factor into that asset management financing strategy because this one's kind of being handled itself.
Thank you. I'm gonna let somebody else ask for at least 5 minutes. So please go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Lobo. Through you, Mayor Lobo, to Zach and our treasurer. I was gonna call you Dave. Paul, oh my gosh. Sorry, I'm all caught up in the numbers. Would like to thank you both for answering so many questions today. I'm sure we're gonna have more as this goes on. This is an exciting time for us, a bit scary as well, as we all sit back and watch the arena come to life again for the everyone involved that are wanting to use the facility. So I'd just like to thank you both for working so closely with each other and with Barry Bryant, and sit back and watch this unfold. It's going to be an exciting time. So thanks again.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Ainsworth.
Mayor. I also want to thank staff for a great job putting this together. Paul, awesome work. Really answered a lot of questions and some great questions here this morning. So it really shows transparency, saving the taxpayers money, and it shows all options, whether fully funded by the township or loans, fundraising comes in at the end and how it's all set up. So it's really exciting time. And, you know, the township and council should be proud of this report. And this is the same kind of report that we could use going forward and other stuff with your guidance and finances. This is going to help the township immensely where we can end up in the future. Awesome work.
Any other comments? Councillor Booth.
Through you, your worship. Just sticking to Paul's avenue, right, which is the financing. I guess, Zach, you were saying you were going to find out about the contingency fund, which I'm very concerned about, is because last week when we had the water group in here, we had a $500,000 job that they were doing, and they had a $100,000 contingency fund. So if you're looking at that, Zach, could you find out exactly and give us the information of what was the total breakdown of what they're breaking down for the boards and this and that and everything, and then show us what number is for the contingency fund? Because as Councillor O'Neill has said, without a contingency fund, then staff will have no permission if there's an overrun on something. For example, let's use the remediation of the soil. If it's going to cost another $50,000, you're going to have to come back to council. And with a job that we're trying to get through very quickly, you're not going to want to delay things. So I'd be very interested to find out, because I don't see it anywhere in the RFP that talks about the contingency fund and them telling us. So I'd like that number in the future. Thank you.
Go ahead, Dave.
I can help add a little bit of detail. I reviewed the correspondence by Councillor O'Neill and another member of public yesterday with Barry Bryant Associates, specifically our engineer who's looking after the project. There were no identifications of any concerns with the information that was shared. And with respect to the contingency fund, it is the expectation of Barry Bryant Associates that the project work within the tendered amount, the RFP amount that has been provided. anything that works outside or maybe, directed outside of that bid process or the bid amount would ultimately have to come back to council through our procurement bylaw anyway. So we are not asking specifically for any contingency at this time. The bid amounts are identified in the bid award through the process of proprietary in nature. If somebody would like to obtain that, that can be done through an FOI process, but not something that we're bringing to open council meeting.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councilor Ainsworth.
Yeah, through you, Mayor, and I would also like to add that, I mean, if this is an engineer-made project with the contingency already not being in that price. So the contingency is actually there, it's just in the price.
Paul, do you want to comment on that? Or can you? Or why? Go ahead.
I was gonna say through the chair, I think that's kind of what we're looking into, but I would imagine that it would be baked into the price.
So it's my understanding that is the price, it's my understanding that, due to the number of experience of Barry Bryan and the amount of projects they've done similar to this, that this was all accounted for basically in the bid tender.
Any other questions?
Through your worship, I'm just a little concerned because we had one group last week saying they needed $100,000 contingency price, and that was for a new build. We're talking about a renovation. And experts in the field, and even when I had this in the town of Ajax, there was always a contingency fund built in. You always have to have something set aside because for a comment to be made by maybe Barry Bryan Associates to say that, oh, it's all in there, I highly doubt that there will be no change orders in this.
I can't comment on that because I didn't see it, but if there are change orders, then they come to council before they're approved.
Through your worship, and then that's going back to my point that it's going to end up delaying things because certain things they won't be able to proceed with, and we only meet a couple of times a month, but okay, thank you.
Other comments? I'll read the resolution. The council received report FIN 202604, finance of the Grafton Arena floor replacement for information, and that council endorsed the financing plan for the Grafton Arena project contained in this report, and that council approved the use of the debenture to fund in part or in whole cost of the Grafton Arena replacement project, and the staff be directed to work with Infrastructure Ontario on obtaining the required debenture, and that delegated authority be provided to staff to execute the necessary agreements and bylaws, and that council approve the use of reserve funds to temporarily internally finance portions of the project that are not immediately covered through debenture or donation, and that staff be directed to refund these reserve funds once debenture or donation funding becomes available. Can I get a mover and seconder? Moved by Councillor Ainsworth, second by Deputy Mayor Stover. One further question. Yes, I'll open it up.
Through you, your worship, and this has to do with, I guess, the funding too is through to you, Paul. This CSRIF, Community Sports and Recreation Infrastructure, is that something that you apply for as the treasurer, or? And I guess the concern is it's been brought up by a member of the public is that we wouldn't be entitled to that grant because you can't apply for that grant if construction is already started.
Through the chair, so we did apply for the first intake of that grant, I think back in 2024, and we were not successful. Province has announced a second intake of that same grant. We do not know the details of that intake yet. We don't know when the application period is going to open. We can assume for now that the same rules will apply to the second intake. We did meet with members of the province staff at the provincial level to sort of discuss the application to understand whether or not this project would be a good fit for that grant. And that was what was communicated to us, is that, you know, if the project is completed before that application period opens up, then we would not be eligible for that grant. And we're not anticipating the application period to open until probably after the project closes. It'll probably be late fall when that application period opens, in which case we would not be eligible for that grant.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Yes.
And through you, Mayor Noble, I am going to probably require my full 5 minutes here. I do have something. So, and this is to us as councils. And this should be the final step in a carefully planned and costed major project. One that council confidently endorses as the best plan for the municipality for the coming 20 years. One that has broad support from our residents who know and understand the benefits and the financial implications. Unfortunately, what is in front of council today is an unplanned and unbudgeted bandage project. Last May, council requested a comprehensive financial plan for the short and medium term items in the needs assessment, a financial plan that has never been provided. 3 months ago, this council, in its wisdom, passed a budget that was premised on the project being fully funded by donations. Without any revenue from donations received, we are now asking taxpayers to take on a large debt. In this budget year, the plan is to use reserves until such time as a debenture can be obtained. Given the size of this outlay, it should be one with a substantial reserve already in place to cover its costs. No council, including the one sitting at this table today, established such a reserve. The result is approximately $1,259,860 in interest costs. The township will need to use other reserves. Those reserves should be clearly identified. These numbers are not the full cost of the ice replacement project. How will the remainder of the project be funded? Specifically, how will the contingency amount, project management, hydro, seeding, and other items triggered by this project be funded? How will change orders be addressed and funded? We have an answer that it will come back to us. How does this ice replacement project fit with our asset management plan? And how does funding this we want to have item versus need to have item impact other urgent infrastructure projects that this township needs? The sentimental argument is strong, but a strong financial argument is what is needed for a council to approve a multi-million-dollar investment of taxpayers' money. Good governance asks us to consider the impact for the coming 20 years. That includes the future costs for building maintenance and operations. In the 2026 budget, we allocated $350,249.82. Over the next 20 years, without including inflation, that would be $7,004,996.40. With the addition of the debenture cost, that comes to $10,596,840 over the coming 20 years. And if we included the warranted renovations to existing buildings, as identified in the 2025 needs assessment, the total amount for the coming 20 years is $15,112,890. Good governance is ensuring that all of council's questions have been answered and every I is dotted and every T is crossed. Good governance means ensuring that this project fits responsibly with the other competing demands, both for recreation and for funds.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mike.
Through you, Mayor. This, most of this report is more emotional and more political than it is actual facts and fact finding. And, like some core messages of this whole thing with this project is, this is a needed project. We're saving infrastructure. Right, we can't wait till the walls fall down before we decide to figure out whether it's worth anything or not. So, this financing structure is responsible and it's conservative and it's within the legal limits. So our borrowing power is at 25%, and we're sitting around 8%. You know, we're asking the residents over the next couple of years to put in, $21 a month or $42 in 1 year. That's a pretty easy pocket find. And the fact that staff is already putting all the financing in place without even worrying about the fundraising. Without even worrying about the fundraising, they're already putting that financing in place through debentures or temporary loans from reserve, right? The fundraising is going to offset that. You know, the fundraising committee has people. This is what people are waiting for to see, you know, that financing plan. How is it gonna happen? What am I donating my money to? Right? So we can spin all the numbers you want. You can spin all the negative stuff that you want. But this is a great report and it shows transparency. And it shows paying for the arena without even going to donations. So that's great responsibility. That's showing great leadership. So when the fundraising comes in, and the fact that we've already saved $1.4 million off 3.7 that we thought this was all going to cost us, 6 months ago. We've already saved that much. So that's a good plan. That's showing and in the RFP, like that was a strong financial stewardship, and the proper procurement process, no overspending, and it was a market tested pricing. So whether we do this now or whether we do this down the road, it's not going to change the pricing of what's going on here unless everything goes skyrocketing again. So that price is the price that it is. And the fact that we can put this together for, $179,000 a year for the next couple of years, and the fact that it's keeping our borrowing debt at 8%, which we are allowed to limit by law at 25%. We have all kinds of room. This is safe for the township. This is smart for the township. This is something we can use in the future, and it's long overdue. This arena probably should have been fixed twice by now. If past councils and past staff had did something about it then, we wouldn't be having this problem, and amongst other things that we have. So kudos to staff and for putting this report together. Kudos to the engineering companies for going out there and saving us $1.4 million right off the top of our head again. So, asking the residents if all fails, they have to come up with $42. That's pretty good act. That's pretty good report. So,
Thank you, Mike.
you can spill all the numbers you want, but literally, this is a good report. And this is smart finance.
Thank you, Mike. Any other comments? Or call vote? All in favor?
We recorded, please.
Recorded vote has been requested. Madam Clerk?
Okay, Mr. Mayor, we've got a request for a recorded vote from Councillor O'Neill, starting with Councillor O'Neill. I will then go through alphabetically by last name for members of council. When I say your name, please let me know by yea or nay as to how you intend to vote and I'll be following the motion. That council receives report FIN 2026-04, financing of the Grafton Arena floor replacement for information, and that council endorse the financing plan for the Grafton Arena project contained in this report, and that council approve the use of debenture to fund in part or in whole the cost of the Grafton Arena replacement project, and that staff be directed to work with Infrastructure Ontario on obtaining the required debenture and the delegated authority to be provided to staff to execute the necessary agreements and bylaws, and that council approve the use of reserves funds to temporarily internally finance portions of the project that are not immediately covered through debenture or donations, and that staff be directed to refund the reserves fund once debenture or donation funding becomes available. Councillor O'Neill.
No.
We get it in a second. We have a mover in a second.
Correct, Mayor. That was moved by Councillor Ainsley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Stover.
Thank you.
So Councillor O'Neill,
No.
Councillor Ainsworth,
Yes.
Councillor Booth,
No.
Deputy Mayor Stover,
Yes.
Mayor Lobo.
Yes.
Motion is carried 3-2.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next, we're going to move on to fees and charges. Bylaw, FIN 2026, fees and charges bylaw, update and planning fees. For this April 28, 2026. It is recommended that council and corporation of the township government following act as follows. That a bylaw be brought forward for council consideration to amend the fees and charges bylaw. And the report is FIN 2026-05 fees and charges bylaw update. Who's taking us through this? Paul? Please go ahead, Paul.
Through the chair, I don't think there's much to say beyond what's in the report.
Updates or anything like that?
So maybe what I'll say is we've, just in my discussions coming in new and in my discussions with staff, there was a few fees and charges that needed to be amended, and there was a few things that we weren't receiving full cost recovery on. So we've tried to address those ones in this report. But moving forward, the fees and charges bylaw will be something that we review on an annual basis.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from members of the council? Councilor Ainsworth.
To you, Mayor. I always have concerns about when we start changing the fees when it comes to for housing, and so when I look for the residents for some of these costs, and you know, there's already enough red flags being thrown up for residents to cover permits and cover assessments and engineering reports and all this other stuff. It's almost like, you know, sometimes they're walking away because they can't afford it. So I just want to be cautious on how much we start changing fees for when it comes to the residents for getting some housing built in our township. You know, developers, different story. You know, there are multiple issues going on there with their sites, but single dwelling home stuff is an issue that I would caution that we could try to keep that cost down for the residents to make that happen.
Thank you. Other comments? Councilor O'Neill.
I'm just curious, through you, Mayor Lobo, too, Councillor Ainsworth, why it's good that everyone pays for the arena project,
You're.
but
Let's talk to this.
but why this?
Point of order.
What's your point?
My point is that she's badgered. Right, let's keep to the point of what we're actually talking about.
I think Mike had the floor, and I think you interrupted, so I'm gonna let you continue on.
No, I'm done, but I'm just saying, like, you know, you wanna be a dashboard because you like to vote, now
You
you're.
get it, not doing nothing. Do you have anything positive to say, Mary Catherine?
I'm just saying that we should do this as recovering costs, as our treasurer said, so. And I apologize for being a little snarky at the beginning of my question there.
Thank you, Councilor O'Neill. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Lobo, and through you to Paul. I'm sorry about messing up your name last time. Having gone through building a house about 6 years ago, this is a user system. So unfortunately, this is a necessary item that we have to go through. And when you starting it, it's just part of the project. So I'd like to thank you for going through this, keeping it updated, because as a user needing it, that you're gonna, that's where the fees are gonna have to be paid from. I did have a question, and it's not in this section, it had to do with burials. And maybe I'll wait till the actual, chart comes up. So that I think is coming up in, the bylaw, in the project. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? I'll give it. A second. Okay. I'll read the resolution, that bylaw be brought forward for council's consideration to amend the fees and charges bylaw, and that we receive report FIN 202605 fees and charges bylaw update. Mover and seconder. Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconder. Second by Councilor Ainsworth. Further discussion? All in favor? That's carried. And the next one is the awarding of the PRF 2012-2026 Grafton Rita slab replacement, Alderman Community Memorial Arena. And this is, but I'm not sure exactly on the phone. I'm not actually sure your last name, Zach. Sorry about that, but here we're both having the same.
I know, it's not right.
Zach, do you have any updates or any further information regarding the report?
I do not, just what's on the report now.
Okay. I'll read the resolution. The council will receive report PR 2026-01, awarding of PRF 01-2026 the Grafton Arena rink slab replacement, Holloman Memorial Community Arena for information, and that council award RFP 01-2026 to J.J. McGuire General Contractors Incorporated for $2,257,000 plus HST plus an additional 75 HST for low emitting ceiling, and bylaw be brought forward for consideration to authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into an agreement with J.J. McGuire General Contractors number PRF 01-2026. Mover and seconder. Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover and seconded by Councilor Ainsworth. Any questions or comments from, yes, go ahead, Councilor Drew.
Through your worship to Zach, again, about the contingency fund, you said you were gonna look into that. I do have a concern, the comment that you talked about that we don't have a cost yet for the bleachers or the stands, because obviously you're gonna have the new rink and the boards and everything, you gotta have bleachers and stands, so hopefully we will be kept up to date on what that costs. I'm also wondering, and I asked this question before, and maybe it's just out there, is this arena project subject to the Alderville coming and taking a look at because we're excavating anything? Was that looked into? Is that something that they could come back to us? Because we've talked about this with other people doing projects and that. Are we gonna be, have we checked that out to make sure that we don't have to do any of that stuff?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, I don't have information on that, so somebody else is able to answer that.
I'm not sure if you can, maybe the planner can or somebody, because I asked that a month or so ago to say, with all these issues we've had with people building a garage and everything, are we not subject to the same thing? Could somebody come and say, you have to have an inspection and there could be an archaeology? What happens if they dig up under there and they find that there's arrowheads or something?
Steve, do you have a comment?
Because our planners here, through your chair, because our planners here, Tracy, would you mind coming and addressing this question? The excavation, does it meet the excavation requirements? Does it meet the requirements to identify for archaeological assessment? Would we do anything like that under an existing building, meaning within the footprint? Any comment would be appreciated for this council.
Thank you, through the chair. I'm not overly familiar with the scope of the project. Is there plans to expand the footprint or its work within the existing footprint, then I wouldn't expect that that would be required. When there's expansions on site, that should likely be looked at. Thank you.
And to clarify, through provincial policy direction and not through Alderwell. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I guess the other, well, I mentioned about the bleachers and the stands and that. I'm just wondering too, because it came up at last night's Parks and Rec meeting, that has the fall users, the ice users been talked to yet? That it looks like if everything goes well and we get everything, we get the arena back in the first week of November, and with new ice, it takes a lot longer to put in, you can't rush it through, that it looks like, you know, the earliest that they're gonna get the ice is middle of November or probably December. Have they been notified yet to say that, especially minor hockey, that who starts usually after Thanksgiving, that they're gonna have to come up with some plan for the first month and a half?
I'm gonna let you answer that. However, I'm gonna remind council that it's pretty operational if you're asking that taking question. That is something that we don't need to get involved in. That's their responsibility. Go ahead, Zach.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So there's been some discussions, but at this point, until we have the contractor starting and still have actually put shovels in the ground, we're sticking to the timelines of the RFP, which means that we're looking to be ice ready by the end of October. If that changes, or if those timelines change, then obviously we'll be contacting the user groups advanced as soon as we have this information to prepare them for the upcoming schedule. But until this actually starts and things are in motion, it's almost impossible at this point to give or take away timelines. So this is the process moving forward is basically to have them start, and as they start, they'll be updating Barry Bryan, who of course will be updating staff, and then we'll be updating council on how that works. So user groups are definitely in that process, but we just don't want to give the incorrect information until we have definite information.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Go ahead, Ms. Dobbin.
I'm just curious about what was the difficulty with the lowest price submission? What was non-compliant?
And I can take the lead on that.
Thank you, Dave.
So that is not something that we are prepared to divulge in public, because we're not going to get into any sort of defamation.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councilor Booth.
Through your worship, once this is approved and everything like that, will the public or will council be provided with the breakdown of sub-trades and all the rest of the RFP that talks about pricing, because they usually break it out of pricing and stuff like that? And will we be provided with that, or?
You got a comment, Dave?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I can find out if that is appropriate and can consult legal.
Okay, thank you. Oh, and one more thing.
Go ahead.
Through your worship, last one, and it sounds like, Zach, you'll be taking the lead here with the staff. So are we planning on having updates to council throughout the summer? That you'll be coming to council and giving us updates on, I'm not sure how often you're meeting. Are you meeting every week with the contractor, or every second week, and you'll be able to provide updates to us if things are progressing along? Because this is a huge project, right?
That's correct. So through you, Mr. Mayor, there will be weekly updates between staff and the engineering company, and then bi-weekly updates happening in person at the arena as well. So as this progresses, we will do our very best to ensure that council is notified of any problems or any issues that arise. And of course, obviously, if things are going very smoothly, we'll be giving those updates as well. So I will confer with staff to figure out the best way to do those updates, but obviously in full transparency, we want this to be a big project that's done for the community and done properly, and of course with everybody involved. So,
okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Neal, you didn't get the last one, Councilor Lee.
Thank you, Mayor Lowell. Just back circling to Councillor Booth's concern about the user groups, and I know you say that it is operational, but I also know that this room was completely full when a schedule was being changed, and at that point, this council passed a motion that the user groups would have a meeting and they would be involved in these, and I think perhaps given this, that might need to be more than one meeting if that is going to work, but I do think they need to be included. But I think this does open the question of what if work is behind schedule. I know you're telling me what the goal is, but I've seen government projects that shockingly did not get completed on schedule. So what is Plan B?
Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Lobo. All I can do is offer a comment. One of the committee members is quite involved with minor hockey. Minor hockey is well aware of this project. They're in support of it. So it's not going to be a surprise. I'm sure that they have been responsible and looked after the what ifs, but I just put it out there that they're well aware. They know that there could be delays and everyone is, going to act when they need to, and you won't know how it's going until you get into it. So, thank you, Zach, for managing it again, and, thank you, Mayor Rubel.
I have, I agree with you, Mary Catherine, there are, projects that get delayed, but there are also ones that are if they're well managed, they'll be done on time. And Zach, you can take that one to the bank as a challenge. Okay?
Last comment, Your Worship.
Okay.
Through you, Your Worship. The comment that the deputy mayor said, if you would have attended last night's meeting, that the actual representative there from minor hockey asked the intern whether or not notification has been told to them. There was no notification told to them that they could be late. So for them to just say that we know that the job's going on and everything, we should be proactive to be meeting with them, as Mary Catherine said, that having a meeting to say, just in case you need to know. Because for the minor league representative to ask that last night means they haven't been told anything.
Mayor Rubel.
Yes.
I only offered the comment, through you, Mayor Rubel, as, a courtesy, as after talking to somebody that maybe doesn't hold the presidency of minor hockey, but is very well involved in it. So I just offer it. I wasn't at the meeting last night, so I didn't know the comment was made. So
Okay.
everyone is aware. Thank you.
Mike?
Through you, Mayor, just a point of order that operational shouldn't be involved in what's going on with the cost of the area. That's what we're dealing with. The cost and the project. The president sits on a fundraising group. He's well aware of what's going on. So there's not gonna be any surprises in it.
Well,
So-
he's only as aware as what's up to date, and until this morning, there was no decision on whether we move through or not. So now that we've made that decision, staff should, and I expect will be informing people that the ice that normally goes in by the middle of October will not be going in by the middle of October. So expect some delays. Here's where we think it's going to be right now. And if things change, we'll keep you informed as much as possible.
Perfect.
So I think we've got a mover and seconder. All in favor? Motion is carried. Bylaws. Bylaw number 2026-29, amended by bylaw 90-2025, fees and charges bylaw. The bylaw number 2026-29 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 90-2025 for the fees and charges bylaw be given a first, second, and third reading and pass this 28th day of April 2026. So I get moving second. Moved by Councillor Booth, seconded by Deputy Mayor Stover. Any discussion? Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Lobo. It had to do with, the burial, and, It had to do with the costing, and I didn't put the page down, but it was $70 an hour. Did that include the equipment, or is the equipment on the other side of that? And I apologize, Paul, because I can't get to the right page.
Okay, Madam Clerk, do you have a comment? Maybe you can respond to Deputy Mayor.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, for the winter burials, which we don't, our cemeteries are closed during the winter months. However, there might be certain circumstances in which we do have to conduct one. So at that point, it's $70 per hour, plus there's labor equipment rentals on top of that. So it's a 100% cost recovery to the individuals requesting the service.
Okay, thank you. That's what I was looking for. Thanks.
Any other questions? All in favor? That's carried. Bylaw 2026, an executed agreement with J.J. McGuire General Contractors Incorporated. BL 2026 30, being a bylaw to execute an agreement with J.J. McGuire General Contractors Incorporated for an RFP number 012026, Grafton Arena Rink Slab be given a first, second, and third reading, and finally pass this 28th day of April 2026. Mover and seconder. Moved by Councilor Ainsworth, seconded by Deputy Mayor Shoulder. Comments? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Next, we're moving on to item 16, which is closed session. So I'll read the motion. 16.1 is recommend the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Allen-McCullough enact as follows. That the municipal planning / regular council meeting of April 28, 2026 move into a closed session under Municipal Act, Section 239(2). And it's regarding labor relations or employee negotiations, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board. And K, the position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instructions to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipal or local board. And this is regarding CUPE negotiation update, as well as an ongoing Ontario Land Tribunal matter. So can I get a move in a second? We're moving to close. Moved by Councillor Booth, seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. All in favor? Motion carried. Great. Yes, I think it's, 10 minutes, we'll be back on the Okay. Closed session is ended, and I'd like to report our, out of close. It is recommended council of the corporation of the township of Elm Sullivan act as follows. That, the report out of close be received for information, and that report is the council met in closed session and received 2 reports. Staff will provide direction and will be proceeding as discussed. Mover and seconder. Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councilor Booth. All in favor? That's carried. Confirming bylaw. It is recommended the council of the corporation of township of Allen Sullivan act as follows, that bylaw number 2026-31 being a bylaw to adopt proceedings of the municipal planning regular council meeting held on the 28th day of April 2026, and to authorize its execution to be given a first, second, and third reading and finally pass this 28th day of April 2026. Mover and seconder. Moved by Councilor Booth, seconded by Councilor Ainsworth. All in favor? That's carried. Motion to adjourn is recommended the council of the corporation of township of Allen Sullivan enact as follows, that the municipal planning / regular council meeting held on April 28th, 2026 be adjourned at 11:41 a.m. Mover and seconder. Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councilor Neal. All in favor? Motion's carried. That's it. Thank you, everyone. We will see you.